Well, grand rising. Good afternoon, good evening, good middle of the night. You are tuning in to the Royal Nest podcast. I am your host, Minister Antoine Williams, aka Eagles Soaring High, and I am back with another video. Yes, I am back with another video. If you will, take the time to like, comment, share, and subscribe to all of my channels. Eagle Soaring High Channel 1, Eagle Soaring High Channel 2, Fireside Chat with Eagles, and Purple Community Royal Priesthood. I am going to ask you to, as you come in, to hit the like button as you come in or as you go out. Just hit the like button. If you choose and you want to hit the dislike button, do that as well. But just hit one of them as you come in, the like button or the dislike button. It doesn't matter. I will appreciate it. I want to thank all of my supporters, all of you that's been here from day one. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you. For the new subscribers that is joining up with the nest, thank you. Thank you. I also appreciate you as well. And to my replay fam that's going to come and catch this video after it has premiered, I want to thank you as well. All of you and your presence is important to this channel and all channels of mine. So thank you for the love and the support that you showed on last week. I began the third video to my series, A Soldier Under Satanic Attack, a series of encouragement. And the topic was bullies do fall hard. In that series, we found and discovered that bullying does not always end on the outside, but sometimes it begins on the inside of your home, whether it's the older siblings, the cousins, the nephews, the nieces, the father, the mother. There's some form of bullying that took place. We discovered also that oftentimes the bully begins to bully their victim, their prey, P-R-E-Y, their prey, or there's been some form of abuse, physical abuse, mental or verbal abuse. But as we begin to continue that journey in the topic, bullies do fall hard, we begin to talk about David. David, the young boy, who I believe was around 12, the musician, the sheep keeper, the one that tends to the sheep. We saw in 1 Samuel, the 17th chapter, and we started at the 22nd verse. We see David coming. He gets out of his carriage and he goes over to the soldiers, to the army. He salutes them, he greets them, and he begins a conversation with them. He begins to talk with them about whatever his topic was. It was probably the subject of the battle. In the midst, there was the bully who stepped out by the name of Goliath, who had been prideful, arrogant, puffed up, believing that he was untouchable because he was a trained soldier and he was the adversary of those that lived and took residence up in Israel. He stepped forth, and him being tall brought forth a form of intimidation, fear, and just in his stance, there was fear. But David, the sheep keeper, came with a strength, came with courage, came with a brave heart, and began to inquire. He put out his request to volunteer to take on Goliath. The soldiers sent for Saul and had Saul come. And Saul began to declare that David was too young to fight the battle. But we're going to find out that though David showed up, he just didn't come to see the fight. But deep down on the inside, David was about to become the soldier who didn't look like much, who smelled like the sheep, who entertained the sheep by ministering to them with his heart, with his music. And such a short, scrawny, not smelling good little boy is about to stand on the battlefield. One of the things that I shared with you all on last week is that one of the first things that we understand about soldiers is that they are brave. They are fearless. They have courage. They've been trained to fight in these battles. But because no one has ever been able to go toe to toe and stand 10 toes down and face Goliath and win the battle, it seemed to become hopeless. It's funny how Goliath put fear into full grown adult men, but he had no effect on this little boy who happened to understand who he was, whose he was, and who he is. He has no fear. So stay with me to the end of this video. Stay with me so that we can see how this story ends. How we can take this story and relate it to real life and how we deal with our bullies. We're going to get ready to take a break, and then we'll be right back to soar right into this video. Bullies do fall hard, part 2. Like, comment, share, and subscribe to all of my channels. Eagle Soaring High, Channel 1, Eagle Soaring High, Channel 2, Fireside Chat with Eagles, and Purple Community Royal Priesthood. Hit the like button as you come in or as you go out. It doesn't matter. You flew this way to hide in the clouds and to hide in the bushes. You come this far. So why not just hit the like button? I'll appreciate it. Well, we'll get ready to soar right into this video. We'll be right back right after these breaks. God bless you. I'll see you in a minute. Well, welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. Come on into the nest. Come on in and take a seat around the nest, around the fireside, as we continue with Bullies Do Fall Hard, part 2. Part 2. Welcome to every last one of you. All of you are my VIPs, my very important people that have shown up. You could have gone somewhere else, but yet you chose to come my way. And I want to thank you for that. Much love to you. I want to thank you. If you're just tuning in, you're tuning in to the Royal Nest Podcast. And I am your host, Minister Antoine Williams, aka Eagles, Soren Hahn. And we're here today to continue with my series, A Soldier Under Satanic Attack, a series of encouragement. Bullies do fall hard too. Again, welcome. I want to pick up where I left off on last week in First Samuel 17 chapter, and we're going to look at the 33rd verse once again. And here's what it says. Oops. It says, and Saul said to David, thou art not able to go against this Philistine to fight with him. Saul is saying to David that you're not going to be able to go out and fight with Goliath. You're not, for thou art but a youth. You're a young man. And Goliath, he's a man of war from his youth, meaning that he is moved from a child up into adulthood. And they don't understand that God has sent David there on a mission. Again, David is a musician. He's a sheep keeper. He played his harp to the sheep. He ministered to the sheep as well as God. So David didn't look like a soldier. He wasn't presented as a soldier. David didn't have the training of a soldier. But deep down on the inside, God was getting ready to cause him to rise up as a soldier. And David said unto Saul, thy servant keep his father's sheep. And there came a lion. David is saying, well, since you don't believe that I am more than capable of handling our enemy, our adversary, let me take a moment as this young boy and give you my resume. And David said unto Saul, thy servant keeps his father's sheep. And there came a lion and a bear and took a lamb out of the flock. Now watch what he's saying. He says, yes, I'm the sheep keeper. I'm the shepherd of the sheep. But let me tell you this, a lion and a bear came and took a lamb out of the flock. Now watch. He says, and I went out after him. This is such a brave little boy. He is definitely a soldier that comes in a small package. A lion and a bear came and took a lamb out of the flock, and David ran after it. He says, and I went after him and smote him and delivered it out of his mouth. He smote the lion and the bear and took the lamb out of its mouth. And he says, and when he arose against me, I caught him by his beard and smote him and slew him. Sounds like to me that David is dealing with bullies all around, whether it comes in the form of the animals or in the form of an adult grown man. David is saying to Saul that if I took care of that lion and if I took care of that bear and I slew them, I smote them, I killed them, what do you think this giant is to me? He says in the 35th verse, and I went after him and smote him and delivered it out of his mouth. And when he arose against me, I caught him by his beard and smote him and slew him. He killed the lion and he killed the bear. And the 36th verse says, thy servant slew both the lion and the bear. David running around here taking out bullies like never before. That lion and that bear roared. The lion roared at him, and the bear growled at him. And yet David was able to take them out, not in his own power, but in the power and the might of God. God has placed his hands on him and hath anointed him. He has begun to train David with lions and bears, because the day was going to come where he was going to have to come forth and stand on the battlefield and face what nobody else was willing to face. Now, all the soldiers around him was in fear, and you could hear their hearts beating so fast that it seemed like it was going to beat right out of their chests. All the soldiers that had been trained for such a time as this, full-grown men, afraid and intimidated by this man called Goliath. How tall he was, how trained he was. Fear gripped them because they knew that anybody that went up against Goliath, they were killed and destroyed, which put fear in those that stood by, that was trained, that was supposed to protect their land. They sat in private and bragged about, I'm going to be the one to take Goliath out. I'm not afraid of Goliath. Behind the scenes, they have all of this mouth and all of this strength, all of this power, all this braveness, and all this courage. But when they reach the battle line, their breathing is shallow. And you can hear their hearts beating out of their chests. If I was there, if you was there, this is what you probably would have heard. When it was time to step up and battle, go against the bully that bullied them for so many years, they cowered down. They tucked their heads and ran out of fear. But yet there is this little boy that keeps the sheep, who plays his harp to minister to God and to the sheep that have dealt with lions and bears, full of courage, brave and fearless, 12 years old, coming to step forward and step up and do what the grown men and the soldiers were supposed to do. David said, and I went out after him and smote him and delivered it out of his mouth. And when he arose against me, I caught him by his beard and smote him and slew him. He killed both the lion and the bear. The 36th verse says, thy servant slew both the lion and the bear. And this uncircumcised Philistine shall be as one of them. Now, look at that. This young boy stepping forth, volunteering to go on to the battlefield. And he tells Saul that I've taken out a bear, I've taken out a lion. And so as it was with that lion and that bear, the same shall happen with this man they call Goliath, the one that imputes fear, the one that's intimidating. He shall meet that same fate on today. And this uncircumcised Philistine shall be as one of them, seeing he hath defied the armies of the living God. I can only imagine that David must have been a little upset that this man called Goliath have disrespected not only the army of God, the soldiers, but God himself. David said in the 37th verse, David said, moreover, the Lord that delivered me out of the paw of the lion and out of the paw of the bear, he will deliver me out of the hand of this Philistine. And Saul said unto David, Go, and the Lord be with you. Look at this. Who would have imagined that a child will step up and lead the way? David had so much faith and trust in God that he said that if he delivered me out of the paw of the lion and out of the paw of the bear, he will deliver me out of the hand of this Philistine. He's going to deliver me. His argument was so compelling that even Saul could not deny his request any longer. One of the things that you must understand on today, that as soldiers of Christ and believers in Christ, number one, you cannot be afraid to face your bullies. You've got to have enough assurance and trust in God and faith in God that you know without a shadow of a doubt that God is going to bring you out. God's going to deliver you from the hands of your bullies. That he's going to have your back. Listen to this little boy, this little 12-year-old boy that keep the sheep. He trusts God that much to know that God's going to keep him. But I just don't believe that he just got there in that place without experiencing him, without having a full-blown, life-changing experience. To know that God is walking with him. And what you cannot do, God will empower you to do. He will strengthen you. He will give you the courage. And he'll make you a brave enough where you can stand not in your own strength, but in his strength. And lean and depend on him to take you all the way through. You got to trust him. I told you on last week that if you trust in the Lord with all thine heart and lean not unto thine own understanding, but in all thy ways acknowledge God, and he will direct your path. Some trust in horses, some trust in chariots, but we will trust in the name of the Lord. David trusted God so much that he was willing to step up and face what the others were not willing and able to face. I can imagine that David sat around and said that if he allowed me to slew and take out a lion and a bear, this thing here is no different. David knew who he was, and he knew whose he was. And as long as he knew he is, then knowing who he is no problem. So finally, Saul says unto David, go, and the Lord be with him. And Saul armed David with his armor, and he put a helmet of brass upon his head. Also, he armed him with a coat of mail. And David girded his sword upon his armor, and he assessed to go, for he had not proved it. And David said unto Saul, I cannot go with these, for I have not proved them. And David put them on. David says that what you're giving me, I have not been chosen to receive it. Your armor is all good, but it's not good for me. Can you imagine this 12-year-old boy trying to put on an adult's armor and go for? First of all, it doesn't fit. Second of all, it's too big. It's too heavy. So David says, I cannot take this. I cannot go with these. I cannot go with your armor. David takes the armor off. The 40th verse says, and he took his staff in his hand and chose him 5 smooth stones. Now, how predictable could that be? How believable would that be? The armor is too big. The armor that they have is too heavy. So he lays it aside. And the very thing that he does now you got to be able to trust God, have so much faith in God to know that he's going to step on the scene, that God's going to give him enough power to go face the demon, to go face this bully, to go face Goliath without the armor on. Can I tell you and give you this as a nugget, a free nugget? David did not need the armor of man because God had already clothed him with a spiritual armor that fit him. And it was going to take him a mighty long way. So he takes a hold of his staff, the staff that he used to keep the sheep in line, the staff that he used to keep them from straying off. He took his staff in his hand and he began to move. And as he began to move, I can see him looking down at the ground. Well, David, why are you looking down at the ground? Because there is something there. There is a weapon there on the ground that God is about to anoint and guide. It's about to find the weapon of choice. And he took his staff in his hand and chose him 5 smooth stones out of the brook. He went over to the brook and he began to look down into the brook. Now, what most people may not know is that over the years in those brooks, as the water rushes over the stones, God has a way of smoothing out the rough places. Has a way of smoothing the stones just with water. It's a mystery to me, but he does it, and he does it well. And he does it because he knew that there was about to be a moment and a time and a season that was going to approach and show up where there was going to be need of some smooth stones. And he took his staff in his hand and chose him 5 smooth stones out of the brook and put them in his shepherd's bag. Now you're supposed to be preparing yourself to go forth and fight this giant, this bully, this adversary that has troubled the whole city and the whole town, and yet you're seeking for smooth stones. God has a way of doing things that we may not understand, but he does. And because when he has a purpose and a plan for your life, as long as you follow his instructions, everything will be all right. As long as you follow the instructions and do exactly what he tells you to do, the victory is going to be yours. So David reaches down into the brook and he pulls out 5 smooth stones. He takes them and he puts them in his shepherd's bag, which he had, even in a scrip. And his sling was in his hand. And he drew near to the Philistine. David said, you've been waiting for a day like this. You have defeated, you have crushed, you have destroyed, you have killed everybody that has stepped up and approached you. And because you are taller, this small package here is going to be the one that takes you out. So what am I saying? I'm saying to you that's listening on today that what you need to do is reach down in your spiritual brook and pull out your 5 shiny, smooth stones. Put them into your shepherd's bag and get ready to go forth to face the demon of fear, that giant, the champion, that arrogant, pompous bully. It says David got his 5 stones. And he pulled his sling out, which is just simply a slingshot. And he begins to draw near. He doesn't stand at a distance, but he draws near, where he leaves enough space between the two of them. And he stands there with his slingshot in his hand. In the 41st verse, it says, and the Philistine came on and drew near unto David. So just like David was coming near and walking up and approaching, Goliath was approaching and walking up on David. And the man that bare the shield went before him. And when the Philistine looked about and saw David, he disdained him, for he was but a youth and ruddy and of a fair countenance. He was disdained. First of all, he could not believe that the only person that was standing on the battlefield that had the audacity, the courage, and the strength to defy him by not being afraid of him was a little boy. Looked at him. This is why we cannot judge people by the way they look, how their countenance is, whether they're ruddy or not, whether they have a fair countenance or not. David didn't look like those men that stood on the battlefield. He was ruddy. dirty, probably smelled completely like the sheep. And I can only imagine Goliath standing there laughing. Because he looks at David and have come to the conclusion that this is who you are sending out to fight me, the champion, the trained one, the one that has never lost a fight or a battle. You send a child to come against me? Yeah. You're the quiet one. You're the one that they consider to be the nerd. You're the shy one. You're the polite one. The one full of manners and respect. Bully is standing there looking at you, perceiving that you are weak and vulnerable, trusting and believing that he has bullied or she has bullied folks and have conquered them. He or she has been victorious. And yet, that quiet one and the one they consider to be the nerd and Steve Urkel is the one that stands up and say, hey, this got to stop. They found funny. The little boy that has no arm that can be seen with the natural eyes. It's coming to battle with me, to fight with me. Wow. Now, look at what the Philistines said. Look at what Goliath says. Goliath looks down at David and he began to say unto David, am I a dog that thou comest to me with a staff? And the Philistine cursed David by his God. Let the bully keep talking. Let the bully keep insulting you. Let the bully keep laughing and telling lies on you. Just stand right there and wait for God to give you the orders to reach back and pull out your rock. It's now making fun and teasing, talking trash to David. He says, am I a dog that you come at me with a staff? And then he gets smart. And I can only believe that he said something blasphemous, that he cursed David by his God. And the Philistine said to David, come to me, and I will give thy flesh unto the... Oh, watch out here now. Watch out. Watch out. I can imagine David standing there, and David said, you're going to talk trash to me? Well, just like you can talk trash to me. I can talk trash to you. David says to him, come to me. He's telling him, he's commanding, he is ordering Goliath, this giant, to come to him, to approach him. He's challenging Goliath to make the first move. Oh, I hope y'all got that. I hope you got that. You don't never make the first move. You let your adversary, you let your bully make the first move. What they used to tell me when I worked at this grocery store, they said if anybody comes in and attacks and want to fight, you allow them to hit you first, and then you can hit back. So it can be called self-defense. David, this courageous, brave 12-year-old boy without armor on, at least not armor on that you can see with your physical eyes, stands before this demon, stands before this bully that's bigger than him, that is intimidating, that has a stance of fear. He orders Goliath to come and make the first move. He demands that Goliath comes and makes the first move. Remember that. You allow your adversary to come and make the first move. You control that situation. You control the narrative. You command and demand that the bully makes the first move. And not only did David command and order the Goliath to make the first move, he says, but you come to me, and when you come to me, I'm going to make sure that I feed your flesh to the fowls of the air. Watch David has such a boldness. He is really a soldier. He's a soldier in the army of the Lord. He's a better soldier than the ones that is standing in the back watching the show. None of them was brave enough to even begin to make a move to approach Goliath. This little boy puts all of them to shame, because he goes forward. Again, not in his own might and not in his own power, but in the power and the might of the Lord. David says unto the Philistine, come to me, and I will give thy flesh unto the fowls of the air, and to be the beast of the field. David say, not only am I going to lead you and feed you to the birds in the air, but you're going to become a meal for that which walks around in the field, the lions, the tigers, and the bears. Goliath thought that he could open his mouth and intimidate and frighten David to run. But David stood his ground. Then said David to the Philistine, thou comest to me. See, now watch this. Watch this. This is how you know that David knows who he is and who he is. Because David says to the Philistine, thou comest to me with a sword and a spear and with a shield, but I come to thee in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God of the armies of Israel, whom thou hast defied. You have defied him. You have been disrespectful to him. You've been rude. But the very God that you have disrespected, that's who I come at you with. David began to say that what you got, your swords and your shields, that's nothing. It's a weapon that shall not come near me. In fact, no weapon formed against me is going to prosper, and every tongue that rises up against me shall be condemned. But this is the heritage of the Lord, and I am his servant. David stood his ground and stood boldly. And he lets the enemy know that what you're coming at me with has no bearing on what I have. Your weapons doesn't compare to the weapons that I hold. He said, you disrespected God, the armies of the God of Israel. David says, this day will the Lord deliver thee into my hands. What is David saying? David is saying that today is the day that you about to mess around and really find out who God is, the God that you've been disrespecting. You about to mess around and find out. Today, I'm about to school you. Today, I'm about to teach you something. Because this day is the day that the Lord is about to deliver you into my hands. And not only is he going to deliver you into my hands, but he's going to allow me to smite you. He's going to allow me to take you out of here, to kill you. He says, this day will the Lord deliver thee into mine hand, and I will smite thee and take thine head. He's telling him that not only am I about to take you out of here and unalive you, but I'm going to take your head as well. And take thine head from thee. And I will give the carcass of the host of the Philistines this day unto the fowls of the air, to the wild beasts of the earth, that all the earth may know that there is a God in Israel. And all this assembly shall know that the Lord saveth not with swords and spears, for the battle is the Lord's, and he will give you into our hands. You got to understand that even when we look at this in this modern day, that the battle is not yours, It's the Lord's. And if you allow the Lord to take you and guide you, I promise you, he's going to deliver your enemies into your hands. And he's going to allow you to spiritually take them out. And not only take them out, but take their head and leave the carcass for the fowls and the beasts still there. You don't have to be afraid. You just got to have a relationship with God and an assurance of who he is. You just got to get to know him so that you can get to know you. Oh, I'm teaching you better than you're receiving. You got to know who he is so that you can know who you are. And when you recognize who he is, he will take you where you've never been before. No matter what you look like, no matter what you don't look like, he will bring you to the front line of the battle and have you approach the enemy, your adversary. And not only approach your adversary, but take your adversary out. Take the very thing that has caused fear throughout the city and the town. He'll allow you to take it out. He says, and all this assembly shall know that the Lord saveth not with the sword and spear. What is saying that he says that this victory is what David is saying. This victory will be obtained and won without a sword and a spear. Why? Because the battle is not yours, but it is the Lord's. When you begin to recognize that on today, that the battle is not yours, but it is the Lord's, you will have the victory. We've got to learn to step back and let God have his way. We got to step back and allow God to fight the battle for us. And when he fight the battle for us, he will give you into he will give your enemies over to you and let you overtake them. Just step back and watch God deliver your bully into your hands. The 48th verse says, and it came to pass when the Philistine arose and came and drew nigh to meet David, that David hastened and ran towards the army to meet the Philistine. He didn't run from him, but he ran to him, head on, face to face. He didn't care that this giant was bigger than him. He didn't care the weapons that he had, because he knew that they would not work. And just as the Goliath was running towards David was running head on to Goliath, towards the army, to meet Goliath somewhere in the middle. I got to hurry, y'all. I got to hurry. I'm almost done. And David put his hands in his bag. Now watch this. While David is running towards Goliath, he has his slingshot in one hand And as he's running towards Goliath, he reaches down into his shepherd's bag and he puts his rock right there in the slingshot. And as he's running, he's pulling it back and lining it up so that he can now release and fight. It says, and it came to pass when the Philistine arose and came and drew nigh to meet David, that David hastened and ran towards the army to meet the Philistine. And David put his hand in his bag and took thence a stone and slang it. He released that stone and it went sailing in the air. And David put his hand in his bag and took thence a stone and slang it and smote. He killed. He took out. He unalived the Philistine in his forehead. He released that rock, and the Lord took it by hand and guided it and made contact and hit Goliath in the forehead. And Goliath fell. The Philistine called Goliath fell upon his face to the earth. He fell to the ground face first. When you trust God, God will bring the victory. When you trust him and you allow him to lead you, when you allow him to fight the battle, you will overtake that thing that's bigger than you, that's scary and intimidating. God will allow it to fall to the ground and give you the victory. And David prevailed over the Philistine with a sling and with a stone, and smote the Philistine and slew him. There was no sword in the hand of David. Therefore David ran and stood upon the Philistine and took his sword and drew it out of the sheath thereof and slew him and cut off his head therewith. And when the Philistines saw their champion was dead, they fled. God will give you the power to overcome your enemy with your rock. And just like giants fall, giants do fall hard, your bullies can fall just as hard. And as David spoke and promised that Goliath would be delivered into his hands, where he would have the chance and opportunity to take him out and unalive him and remove his head. Well, what am I saying to you today? If you trust God enough, God will deliver your enemies into your hands. God will take care of them, but you got to give them over to him. And anything that you put in the hands of God, God is going to take care of it. I said anything that you put into the hands of God, God is going to take care of it, whether it's positive or negative. You got to take your hands off. You got to release it. You got to trust God and have enough faith in God that God's going to deal with your enemies when you stop trying to deal with them, when you stop fighting with them, when you stop going back and forth with your bullies, when you stop, then God will step in. Sometimes you got to lose in order to win. Sometimes you got to lose in order to win. You've got to give up so that God can step in and take full control over the situation. Once you realize that the battle is not yours, but the Lord's, you will win. And though the battle is his, he'll use you if you allow him to be victorious in your endeavors. Well, I got to go, y'all. If you're just tuning in, you're tuning in to the Royal Nets podcast. I am your host, Minister Antoine Williams, aka Eagle Soaring High. I want to thank all of you for coming into the Nest on today to have this fireside chat with me. I appreciate you all so much. I appreciate the support and the love that you have shown and given to me. It means the world to me. So we want to get ready in a few minutes to shut this down so you can enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you all so much. Don't forget to hit the like button as you come in or as you go out. Hit the like button as you come in or go out. I'll appreciate it. You come this far down the road anyway. And since you come this far, you might as well come out of the bushes and the clouds and tap that like button. Just tap it. I'm going to ask that you like, comment, share, and subscribe to all of my channels. Eagle Soaring High, Channel 1, Eagle Soaring High, Channel 2, Fireside Chat with Eagles, and Purple Community Royal Priesthood. Again, Eagle Soaring High, Channel 1, Eagle Soaring High, Channel 2, Fireside Chat with Eagles, and Purple Community Royal Priesthood. Well, we're going to take this break and we will be right back. We'll be right back to end this video. Stay with me. Stay to the end. Share this video out as well, if you will, to be an encouragement to somebody so that they would know that bullies do fall hard as well. Stay with me. We'll be right back. Well, God bless you. God bless you. Thank you for coming into the nest. Hit the like button as you come in or as you go out. If you like showing me support, by liking this video, sharing it out as well. I really, 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 really would appreciate it, just so that somebody else can be encouraged as you are being encouraged and impacted. I want to remind you that if you just do like David and trust David, trust God, move as God moves, do what God has instructed you to do, God will always come through for you. You don't have to be afraid of your bullies, of your enemies, because God has not given the spirit of fear, but of love, of a sound mind, and of peace and joy. So trust Him. Trust Him and have an assurance in knowing that God is going to move on your behalf. When you step back, when you stop fighting, when you stop trying to be in charge, when you take a step back, God will take a step forward and He will deliver your enemies into your hands and allow you to overtake them and win. So I say to all of you that's listening on today, for those of you that is being bullied, that's being harassed by folks, don't worry about it. Just step back. Because your day is coming. Your time and your season is coming when God's going to deliver your enemies right into your hands. And there's nothing that they're going to be able to do. And when that happens, God's going to allow you to take back your peace, your joy, your happiness. It's going to remove all fear from you. Just keep the faith. Move by faith, live by faith. Don't worry about your enemies, because sooner or later, the enemy that you see today, you won't see on tomorrow. And always remember that the battle is not yours, it is the Lord's. Once you get a hold of that and grasp that, things will change in an instant. When you give it over to the Lord, things is going to change. God loves you, and so do I. He cares about you. He's concerned about you. Don't be bothered because they have a sword and a shield, and they're coming at you. If they come at you with their sword and shield, you go at them in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ. And everything's going to be all right. I pray that this video is going to be an inspiration, an uplifter, and encourage to you that's dealing with the bullies. And I pray that this part two and part one, in fact, this whole series, will encourage you to know that bullies do fall. And the only way to keep going in peace is by yielding it and giving it over to the Lord. Well, I thank you all, and I appreciate you all so much for what you're doing. And I want to give you all a hand clap to thank you for the love and support that you have given me. So I celebrate you all, my subscribers. Thank you for the love and support. Okay, well, thank you all so much again. If you're just tuning in, this is the Royal Nest Podcast. I am your host, Minister Antoine Williams, aka Eagles on High. And I want to again thank you all for your support. Since you've come all of this way, will you hit the like button as you come in or as you go out? If you choose not to, that's fine. If you choose to hit the dislike button, that's fine too. Just hit one of them, because it's going to keep me in the algorithm any which way it comes. All right, I'm getting ready to let you go. May God bless you, may God keep you, and may his love forever shine upon you. And until the next time, stay blessed and stay safe and in the Master's arms. I will catch you in the next video. God bless you for now.